Hi folks, I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today we're out in western Arizona on the old Route 66, the Mother Road. It's one of my favorite places to travel, and this section of road between Kingman, Arizona and Oatman, Arizona is one of the windiest, most treacherous parts of the old highway. And best of all, we've got the new 2014 Scion TC to take along with us. Even though it hails from Japan, the 2014 Scion TC feels very much at home rolling along the Mother Road. This highway has always been a melting pot of cultures, and this drive captures the essence of that. I've been captivated by Route 66 since I was a teenager, reading every book I could find about it. The lore of recent Americana, the Old West, and its tie-in with cars has always given it magic. The Mother Road was born of a time when we were headed out west to escape depression, and the towns that grew up on this vine were flourishes of excitement and hope for a new adventure. The colorful architecture, neon, and look at me signage captures the time well. Today, as much of the remaining road and its towns are relics of a day past, their ruins speak of souls that rubbed elbows with a life much slower and simpler. Kingman, Arizona found its place along Route 66 as a stagecoach and railroad stop in the late 1800s. As Route 66 came along, Kingman became and remains the largest town you will find until Needles, California. Today, Kingman celebrates its Route 66 heritage with a well-kept historical district, a large museum, and plenty of signage to direct you along the path. Our 2014 Scion TC rolled smooth and solid on the scenic road west out of Kingman. One of Scion's best-selling models, the TC got a fresh design for this year, powertrain and interior updates, as well as suspension tuning revisions. My first impression along the highway is how tight and vault-like the TC feels, a notion that comes from heavily weighted steering, firm seats, and a well-isolated suspension. Once out of Kingman, Route 66 becomes the Oatman Road, a long stretch of isolated and less maintained highway that has no services or rest stops. As you head towards the Black Mountains, you feel well out in the middle of nowhere, because you are. The Scion TC is getting excellent fuel economy so far. It's EPA rated at 23 miles per gallon city, 31 miles per gallon highway, and 26 miles per gallon combined. I've been seeing a consistent 28 to 29 miles per gallon combined on this trip. The further you get from Kingman, the road gets rougher. Cracks filled with tar become the norm, but the Scion TC is doing a good job of keeping them to a mild message rather than a wicked rock concert. My first stop headed into the Black Mountains is Cool Springs Cabins, a restored gas station which is now a gift shop and museum of sorts. A decade ago, this place was in ruins, having been closed since the 1960s. Today, it's been restored to period-correct condition, giving this route new life and an appreciation for what once was. It's a place you just must stop and check out. Stopped here, we took a look at the 2014 Scion TC styling. The front end gets a new front fascia with much more aggressive lines, LED accent lights, and a sharp angular set of headlamps. New 18-inch wheels are standard with nicely sized 225/45 tires. Clear lens LED tail lamps, and an FRS-like center reflector in the rear fascia round it out. Back on the road to Oatman, this section of Route 66 has lots of sights along the way. This road and its ruins have as many stories and ghosts as cracks in its pavement. The scenery lights up with colorful jagged rocks, desert vistas you won't get from the interstate. So, this road's actually pretty rough. It hasn't been maintained like most modern highways that are being used all the time, and there's a reason for that. It's really mostly for tourists these days. But even if it were in perfect condition, it's hard to imagine what it would have been like being the main thoroughfare from the east to the west. Back in the 1930s, the 1940s, if you were going from Chicago to Los Angeles or from Los Angeles back east, this was your road. And if you imagine the traffic that we have today packed onto this tight two-lane highway, it's just hard to imagine. And it gets windy and steep quickly with jagged cliffs just inches from your tires. You need to be on your wits here, as a minor lapse of attention could mean a trip over the cliff. It's fun, however, with lots of curves to push the TC into. For 2014, the Scion TC gets revised suspension and steering that's noticeable over the 2013 model. The electronic power steering is heavier, requiring more effort up here. Shock valving and the sway bar have been revisited for better feedback, and the body structure got beefed up with additional spot welds. I finally approached Sitgreaves Pass at the top of the mountains, which offers sweeping vistas of the west. It must have been a popular stop for travelers back in the day, offering the first glimpse of California. For the weary at the wheel, it was also a happy time knowing that hard climb was finally over. One must remember that back in the 1920s and 1930s, many cars and trucks could not make a climb like this as easily as we take for granted today. It was often a trek that took days, not hours. Taking a break, the interior of the Scion TC has proven a welcome place thus far. The cabin is simple and down to business with firm seats that fit well in a sports coupe. The standard panoramic sunroof makes for an airy feel given its low roofline. For 2014, it remains largely similar to the previous year, but a new 6.1-inch display audio deck is now standard. The sound quality is excellent, and you can upgrade it at your dealer to include satellite radio, nav, and Scion's bespoke applications. Back on the road down the western slope, this side of the pass is littered with gold mines, both active and defunct. While it's tempting to stop and take photos, there are a few pull-off spots on this road. You also have to watch close as the shoulder remains non-existent. The Scion's 2.5-liter engine carries over with 179 horsepower. It's a large torque motor doing well at grunting up hills, but not as excited to rev out. It has a distant under-hood sound, but an ever-present exhaust note as you power through the canyons. The 6-speed automatic transmission for 2014 gets retuned to offer a well-done sport shifting behavior. What Scion calls dynamic shift management means when shifting manually, you get rev-match downshifts with the computer blipping the throttle for you. Upshifts are more immediate than before and more crisp as well.
You know, I always look at these cars in context, and one thing that I really find missing from this is shift paddles. And I know it's an inexpensive car, only about $20,000, but with the sport mode automatic transmission and the fact that it is a sporty coupe, it just seems like something that's missing. I mean, it's just something that really ought to be there. And I only bring it up because I just test drove the new 2014 Corolla recently, which does have shift paddles, and it's just a 4-door sedan. This is Scion's 2-door sport coupe. Where are the shift paddles?
That aside, the Scion TC makes for a good all-around road trip car, offering a good balance of handling, ride, comfort, and miles per gallon. It's not an all-out performance car, but offers up a good balance of style and sport to go along with excellent fuel economy that makes living with it easy for the younger buyers Scion seeks out. At the end of a long drive, it feels like an old friend that's gone the extra mile with you and hasn't made you want to get a separate hotel room at the end of the trip. And at its price of $20,965, including destination, you can afford a nice room. Coming into Oatman, Arizona is like going back in time. It's a true American ghost town that hasn't evolved much since the early 1900s when it was a gold mining center. It has the aura of a Mexican village in a Quentin Tarantino film, only charming instead of violent. Wild burros own the streets, milling about and watching the flocks of tourists go by. They don't seem to mind our trespass in their domain. Not much mining goes on here anymore except for the gold in tourists' wallets. The majority of businesses here are saloons, restaurants, and shops just for them. The town has a rich history, however, a place where Clark Gable and Carol Lombard spent their honeymoon. He often came up here to play cards with the miners to get away from bustling Hollywood. Oatman was a busy and congested hub until the 1950s when the new Interstate 40 bypassed this section of the Mother Road, closing off the stream of traveling millions forever. Today, it's only frequented by those who choose to come and see.
Well, folks, that wraps up our test of the 2014 Scion TC and our tour of Western Arizona's Route 66. It was a plenty comfortable car to drive out there today. That seat never made me tired behind the wheel. The only thing I found missing from this car with the automatic was those paddle shifters. Therefore, this week, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm Sam Haymar for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride.
For a more in-depth review of the Scion TC, log on to cyclonic.com.